who has worked with Jack Harlow, Little Uzi Vert, amongst many others. And then Rachel Scarpati, who's the VP of Digital Strategy and Business Development at Warner Music. So what an incredible group of people here today with me. Thank you, everyone. And then myself, so my name is Yancy, and I'm the founder and CEO of Bootleg. And Bootleg is a digital-first platform for artists to help them record live concerts, market, and sell them to their active fans. And that's what we're talking about today, guys, is active or super fans, and how can we add value for those fans and connect them to the artists that need the value. And what an incredible group of people here to help discuss that. So I'm going to open it up and hand it over to them with the first question. Streaming. Streaming has provided so much access to so much incredible music to pretty much anyone for free. But what has it created in terms of problems for the industry, in terms of connection, and how can artists better connect with the people who are listening to all their streaming content? And I'm going to hand this mic over.
Yeah, so...
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. What I've seen and what I like about streaming, I can really listen to music wherever I am. What I would like to see is more of an opportunity to connect with a musician. On the way here, I was even looking at the little bio at the end of Spotify, for example. Sometimes it's really fleshed out. Normally, at least IG, which I always click through. But liner notes, a little bit about the album, a little bit why I should care about what they did with this project. I would like to see that. I would just like to learn more and connect with the artists instead of just streaming and keeping it moving.
I was going to say, streaming has, we talked about this earlier, where the relationship between an artist and the listener starts off as a long distance relationship. And our goal is to try to get us to move into the same house, because before streaming, when you heard any song, whether it be radio or a video, you had to go seek out the opportunity to consistently listen to the music all the time. Now, as soon as you get a 5-second blip, you can go right to your phone and add it, so the value is not innately there because I didn't have to work that hard to get it. So we're trying to close the gap that streaming has created from the listener to the fan, because we got to get a listener first.
I think what's so interesting about that too is you have from I'll say consumer perspective or a user perspective, it's shifting in a lot of ways where the experience and what's expected or how you access music today is very much a listening experience, but it is shifting very much to a more interactive, creative, and listening experience. That's true with the shift and emergence of social platforms. That's true with now the shift into AI, and that will continue to further shift that from the user perspective. So what does that mean on the artist perspective? And how are you tapping into whether that stream that's happening on the platform, or is that coming from, you have 500 streams, is that coming from 500 users or one user who's a super fan and super user? Or is it algorithmic? So how do you harness and tap into that data and those signals so you can actually find those super fans who are willing to part with their hard-earned dollars to either have some moment or experience with you as an artist, or maybe it's with your merch, it's with some sort of experiential. So how do you translate that streaming ecosystem into harnessing that data to revenue and super fans?
Yeah, that's a big question, very big question. I think what I'm hearing from you, Rachel, is that there are some things that the new environment provides that are good for artists. There's new ways that fans can interact with artists, but it's almost like there's too many opportunities. So there's too many signals, I should say. There's too much noise in the data and in the fan interaction. So what have you guys seen that actually works to create connection? Because I think that's the thing that we're looking for, is connection between the fan and the stream. Have you seen anything? Has anybody seen anything that artists are doing that's cutting edge that creates that connection?
I mean, I think first on the first point, so in terms of opportunities, I think you need to go where the fans are. You can create new spaces and platforms, but ultimately fans want to interact with their favorite artists and their music and the ecosystems that they are in. So how do you open that up? How do you find new platforms that can tap into bringing music into either a technology non-music platform and bringing music to where that user base is and having those connection points? But then to your point, Rod, like how do you actually hone in on that data and how do you access that to then translate it to make it powerful? So first and foremost, you need to have that data from those relationships. And so how do you bring that in a way that you can visualize it and pinpoint those users so that you can access them? Because if they're sitting at the platform, how do you as a manager or an artist actually tap into that particular listener or fan?
Royce, as a
I would say it's kind of like being synonymous with an ecosystem. You want to create the cool kids lunch table. You want to create something that a listener wants to become a part of. A lot of times we expect to just automatically convert a listener to a fan when there's literally nothing to be a fan of. It's bigger than music present day. It's the vehicle of music is just like a t-shirt. It's the merch of an ecosystem. It's the merch of a brand. So what is that listener buying into? What do they feel like they're a part of in a sense? And if we're not creating that, then we're wishing on a star essentially to convert the listener to the fan. That ecosystem that she spoke of, that's what's most important, because the moments that are created within that ecosystem, that belonging is going to give the listener a different feeling about the music when they hear it because they belong to something.
Mike, you guys are so great at helping foster community. What do you think about creating community for artists? And maybe this comes from your days as a manager, maybe it's today in your current, role at Vayner. Yeah, go ahead.
I have an accent too. When VaynerX started, my dad would send us mail and call it Vayner with a B. What I've seen that I like is being very authentic with the fans and the supporters, the community. Charlie XCX did something that I thought was pretty great when she put out there her reviews of movies. She was reviewing movies, she was being honest, and in a way showing a bit about who she is, whether you like it or not, but then giving the community and her supporters a little bit more information about who she is and then helping them feel seen. You might say, yeah, that is my favorite movie, and I like the way you explained it. You're cool, Even if they don't like the music, they can have respect for you. So being authentic is everything right now. Having your supporters feel seen, you need to add value. So if you're supporting your supporters, that'll help them support you. I think you have to really treat them as individuals, and you almost have to give more than you take. And I think you have to not everyone's willing to do that right away. So that's where I see things are headed.
Just to add something to that. It's like there's so many technology tools today where we have like your broadcast channels and things of that nature. Just having the technology is not enough. Being able to strategize your utilization of the technology to create an experience for the consumer is what's going to give you that opportunity to create that super fan. So if you have a broadcast channel and you're just like, hey, my music drops on so-and-so day, that's not enough. You have to get personable. You have to be a human to a human. So that goes back to that authenticity statement where if we're not selling authenticity, then how authentic is the music? We're going to turn it up a little bit in here, what I'm saying?
I like it. And just pile on too with what Mike said of having that authenticity, but that feedback loop. So it's being seen, being heard as a music fan and a fan of an artist. And so how in these channels, as you're broadcasting, you're putting your either view or music or something out there, what is that feedback loop for that fan who's in that ecosystem? Am I, earning something because I'm engaging with your content? Is there rewards? Is there a moment? Is there merch? Is there an opportunity to engage with the artist? Maybe it's a backstage, moment. Maybe it's a shout out. Maybe it's a video, right? What is this feedback loop where I come in and I'm listening to this channel and I'm like, great, okay, cool. It really resonated for me. Thank you, Charlie XCX. I loved that movie. But what am I getting back from that, and how do I deepen that connection? And then what does that mean? Did I buy a ticket to the tour? I don't know. Did I then go listen to it on Spotify or another platform? Maybe. Did I ... right? So like, how do you make that into a lifetime fan and be able to translate that? I heard this in a channel and it resonated for me. That feedback loop to drive that next step action.
That's great. Yeah, there's two things I want to say about that. Number one, experientially, the original experience for a fan and an artist is live music, right? So buying that ticket is step number one. The other thing is there's a certain tension between creating this connection between an artist and a fan and keeping an artist from having to respond to DMs all day, so to speak. Or, we hear pushback with, we don't want to do another meet and greet, or we don't want to do another thing. We just want to make music. What would you all say to artists and their teams with respect to that? I mean, do they just have to change their mind, or what would you say, Mike?
I would say you have to be authentic and honest. So if that's how you feel, tell people. Be honest about it. I don't want to do another meet and greet. And you have to be ready to take what comes with that. If you're not doing meet and greets, don't expect the results of doing meet and greets. If you don't want to post every day, just don't expect the results and own it. When someone says, hey, I have a lot of DMs, I can't do it, that's okay. They could probably say, I know you guys have a lot of DMs. People text me and I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance to text you back. And I'm not even famous. So, I'd be like, wow, I know you're listening. But yeah, I think just being honest unlocks everything. The communication with your fans. You have to be there for them. You have to show them you're a real person. Otherwise, I don't know if they'll figure that out. Sometimes these artists just live in our minds. And, they're always one person, who's always smiling. But some people have bad days too.
I was going to say, you have to give them a reason to care. You have to have a reason to care. There's some artists that we could look at and I have no idea where they live, what kind of car they drive, or any personal information, because the entertainment value is so high and the attention to detail and aesthetic is so high that I don't need to even get to know them on a human level because they don't seem accessible. For those that have a little bit more of a authentic, humanistic approach to it, you have to give the person something to care. Do you represent their certain ideologies for them? Do you represent where they're at in their life? Like, what is the reason why? Because just because you want me to care doesn't mean I should care.
Yeah, it should be from this authentic desire to engage, and with teams around an artist, repeatable moments. So meaning, you're doing the tour, did you capture the backstage? Right, that moment happened, but if you captured it, now you can translate that to other online experiences or other engagement opportunities. And it's less of a strain on the artist who's, on that tour and a demand on that team to now do a meet and greet and a live hosted something, and here's a broadcast in the channel, and, all these things that are really taxing as an artist who's trying to create music, right? That's first and foremost. We're artists, we create music, and then we want to get that out into the fans and have that resonate with our fans. So thinking about these other ways that you can take opportunities to put it out into these other channels, and being able to make those repeatable so you have the bigger bang for your buck in terms of capturing those moments and then making it distributable on those platforms, you can hash through some of the burden that puts on the artist to say, okay, now you need to post 5 pieces of content. Well, I don't need to go create that content. That content exists because somebody captured it behind the scenes as I was getting ready for my performance tonight. So great, that content's there. Somebody can chop it up and post it in the timing that it needs to be posted in. And that is less of a strain on me as an artist, where now I can focus and hone on my craft and performing.
What about the preciousness of an artist? You know, being authentic is easier said than done. Letting somebody capture backstage content is easier said than done. You know, I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit here because we've had these conversations.
How do you feel about it, Rod?
Well, I think it's a great idea. I'd love to see more artist teams embrace it because I do think it's the future. I also think it's super encouraging that this is coming from somebody at a label like Warner, because I think it's super progressive and it's more than just the old school. You know, I mean, you're seeing into the future, I think, of what it will require for somebody to not only get streams, but to create these fan bases. And that's where we'll take our next question, which is, it's one thing to talk about active fans and super fans if you're an artist that has a lot of them, but what does it take to actually create them? So I'll give this one over to you, Royce.
I think the first thing is to identify the difference in breaking an artist versus breaking a record. As a record label, I mean, we want to break the artist, but the revenue comes from the music. So breaking the record is what's most important. And hopefully in that process, with the way the consumer's ideology is today, they can go discover the artist. Because direct promotion sometimes can have an adverse reaction if I'm trying to push this person in front of your face too much. But by pushing the song and allowing you to discover who that person is, it kind of saves a space mentally for that individual. So diving between the two is kind of separating, because you think you have to break the artist in order to break the song, and that's not true. There's a lot of songs that you know, and you couldn't name the artist if someone, you know, if your life depended on that type of thing.
Rachel?
I keep thinking about this, I don't want to put you on the spot.
Uh-oh.
We can talk about it later.
Okay.
I keep thinking about this concept, right? Breaking an artist. So what is the expectation today of an artist and what they have to create in their career before they get to a place to be on a label where their team is thinking about breaking that record? You know, how many followers do you have? What's your socials look like? How much content do you have? How many songs have you distributed? Like, you have some bare minimum threshold to get to as an artist before you even can have those conversations, and that is part of the expectation. So it's like, what are those barriers to get there? Oh, real-time response.
Yeah, I just want to add something there, because the job of the record label is to magnify. So at a certain point, an artist could be generating money, have a viable ecosystem, but those metrics don't necessarily match the business situation of taking on a major record deal. There's some artists that I work with that earn 6 figures a year, but they're independent in the sense that they may not adhere to all the constant rigmarole of what a major artist has to go through, because there's no one to really split the money with except themselves and maybe those that are involved in the creation. So you have to be ready for a record deal, because our job is to magnify. And so if you don't have your ground or your foundation set up, then the question becomes, what are we magnifying? I'm not here to be creative for you. I'm here to be creative with you. Drop some mic. No.
So I think artists need to rethink their role. I don't think everyone needs to be the biggest artist in the world. I don't think they should. If you want to make enough money off your art, if you support your family, and perform regionally, I think that's really cool. I don't think it's easier for a big artist to connect with their fan base. I think actually it's easier for the small artists, because you could talk to your fan base one-on-one, you could build these relationships and go deep. When I was a manager, we would find an artist, we would find a fan, and some of these fans told us, I listened to your album when I ran track, and it really motivated me. And then the next time we dropped an album that had that similar vibe, I would DM it to them. Because it also doesn't have to be the artist, as long as you're telling the truth. I DM them from my account, I'm like, hey, I'm your manager, I know you like that song, Here's another one you might like. And I actually think now that you're saying that when you become a big shot, you could still reach out to those core people. And maybe you're doing a stadium and you DM the person and say, isn't that crazy? I'm doing a stadium. I remember when I was just talking to you every single day, and we're still talking, and maybe that person says, I'm no longer a fan, and you say, that's okay. I get it. But yeah, I think talking to people is really important, and the other fans will come, but you don't need to talk to everybody.
How amazing it is that we have technology today that enables an artist of any scale to be able to be out in the ecosystem, right? So this concept of like, not everybody's gonna be a superstar. Maybe that's not what you want. Maybe you're the local touring musician and you have your releases, and maybe this is a passion thing you do, but you also have some other career path. But now we have technology that actually brings that music to a fan base, and you have a following, and now you have a paycheck that comes from the creation of this art that you're putting out in the world. It's just this like concept that not everybody has to break through into the highest tier of the level, and understanding where you can put your music and tap into those fans, whether they're following you on bands in town and following your gigs, or they're tapping into a station head channel, or they're coming and coming to Feels Music and texting you a song, and whatever these new technology platforms are. How amazing it is that there's Bootleg and all these facets of technology that you can get music out to these fan groups amidst massive scale of music being accessible.
Yeah, there's so much music now, so many different platforms. Technology is moving so fast. You said something, and this is maybe going to take us off script a little bit, but you said it maybe doesn't matter if the manager texts the fan. Now with AI, I mean, what's the ethics of having your AI communicate with every one of your fans, or 50% of your fans a day?
I wouldn't do it, and if you do it, you have to be ready to own it. If a tool can help you scale, if a tool can help you reach people, that's your choice to use it or not. I think genuine connections will win. People want to support people. I don't believe people want to support AI. So when people realize that you're using AI, they might rub them the wrong way. I think we want to support each other more than we talk about it. People want to support people. So I don't know though, I stay educated on AI, I do, because I don't want to be late and have to catch up, but it's a very personal choice. So if you use it, you better own it, and I'm not using it.
I think there's
Still
different,
you, bro.
I think there's different scales of it though, right? Like there's the difference of having an AI agent who's responding real time as if they are the artist, versus like using AI to, funnel up the message that you didn't respond to and say, hey, you might want to pay attention to this, it's been 4 days, do you want to respond to this DM? Or, there's different capacities of using AI within a tool set that is anything from not using it at all to being fully automated and taking on that persona. So there's a big spectrum there, and I think there's a right choice for every artist and every team and how that gets plugged in.
I feel like the conversation of AI, it's a tool. So if a person's building a home and they choose to use a nail gun versus a hammer, that doesn't mean the home has any less value. That just means they have a more strategic strategy in order to build the home. So with AI, it's not about it being, it's too much of a forefront where it's like it should operate as corporate document or corporate secret, where it's like, yeah, we utilize AI, but we're utilizing it to provide engagement and access to the ecosystem of that particular artist. So while we want to have that human interaction, the fact that we were able to see and quantify the data that someone took an extra step to come engage with this VIP line or whatever it may be, AI responding to them is no different than you having a mansion and there's a butler that greets you at the door. You can't get right up to the master bedroom. You got to talk to the butler first. So the engagement and access is what's important. AI allows you to strategize engagement and access so you can quantify the traffic that you're getting, so then you can provide more of a consumer experience for that individual. The silence kills me after
Just
that.
became an AI panel. We didn't know it.
All right, we get off AI. Well, one more thing about AI. So we all know there's a lot more AI music being created and put onto the DSPs. So that takes us to live. And what Mike said, humans want to support humans. I agree. I think we all agree, hopefully, that we want to support one another a little bit. So live music has been a way for an artist to create active fans or super fans historically. Now there's a lot more ways, right? So now we have, posting on YouTube can get you a huge fan base. But live still exists. So how can we continue to serve those fans using live? What have you guys seen that has worked? And what have you guys seen that hasn't worked? And I'll kick that to you first, Rachel.
Oh, man.
I know it's a little outside your
Yeah,
purview.
it's a little, to be fair, it's a little outside of my purview. But I am a music fan. I go to live shows. I think about the community that gets built when, me and my friends are buying tickets to go to that show together. We're having a moment. We're having a night out. We're, listening to the same artist. We're talking about it. There's conversation. Maybe that makes me a super fan to an artist or discovering new artists, right? If they're saying, hey, we're going to this DJ set and this is like happening under the Brooklyn Bridge and it's cool. I'm like, cool, I'm in for that. Who's this artist? Wait a second, what was that drop? Like, it's just opening up this door. So all of a sudden this community is building. That music discovery is happening too, whether that's an artist and they're releasing new music and they're showing it for you for the first time on the stage in front of a big audience, or it's, again, going with friends. But to me, it's all about that community and that live music experience. For me, I'm a musician, nothing replaces live music, being in a room where you're just feeling that energy in that moment and hearing music is so important. So how do you capture that? How do you capture that moment? Rod knows how to capture that. You put it on Bootleg. You capture that moment, you make it available to the fans later, that show really resonates in some sort of capacity, and you have that memory, you have those photos, you have that video, and maybe you're sharing it across other platforms like socials, but again, for me, it all comes back to community.
Yeah, I was going to say it's all about the experience. I had a chance here recently. I was in the Virgin Islands for Carnival, but anyway, I got a chance to see Busta Rhymes perform live, and his performance, while there's no super pyrotechnics or anything like that, his showmanship and his ability to show his talent as he's performing these records with nothing but a backtrack. There's no vocals there or anything. As humans, we like to see that struggle, that creation process to where it's like, wow, he's doing something that I know I can't do, so I enjoy watching it. So by providing that experience being documented, you're almost selling the FOMO aspect to other individuals who weren't there. So that experience will create the fear of missing out, where more want to join, which will create more engagement. That engagement will lead to more listeners. Those listeners will lead to more fans, and the fans will lead to more money.
Mike, real quick, I agree with all of that. And Field Trip, FEEL, I only shout them out because they're great. They came to New York and were doing a press run, and they were meeting with everybody. And I told them this is all great for social media and posted. They told me they were going to meet up with some fans in the Lower East Side. And I told them that's the most important thing you can do on this whole trip. Meet with your people, connect, because we all love the same thing. I told them there's a lot of young kids who want to be musicians that see themselves in you. And so just physically coming together and filming it for content. I love it.
We've got a videographer and another camera here. We're all in the content game today.
Got my microphone.
Okay, here's the question. So if you guys could change one structural thing about how the industry currently is handling the active fan relationship, what would you change? Now, I'm gonna answer my own question because this is, hopefully I'm not stealing one of you guys' answers, but when I grew up, I used to listen to albums from start to finish. And I would read a self-pop catalog and buy an album on a review. And it was a full work of art. And that's one thing I think is missing a little bit today in the streaming culture. So that's just an example. If there's anything that you guys see structurally that you would change, what would it be? Whoever wants it.
Ladies first?
I'm thinking.
Okay. What I've seen recently with platforms like Even and similar platforms where you can kind of sell your music and test how much of an engagement you have, that's something I would like to see more artists who are trying to, cut through the noise, take a shot at. Because before you're available everywhere, you should just be available somewhere to see who's going to come to that location that you're at. Similar to someone organizing a meetup in a certain location. It's like, really test where your engagement is, because the worst thing is to get on the platforms where everybody can access your music and no one does. You want to be able to quantify your results and see who is your fan. So even if only less than 100 people engaged, now you have that less than 100 opportunity to create more word of mouth and create a curated experience for those that took the time to dive deeper, so you can see how you can magnify or scale that same ideology to the major platforms. It came to you yet?
No. But I almost wonder, is that does the artist then like change their approach, right? There's artists who are like, this is me, this is my art, and this is my music, and I have fans out there somewhere, right? And with the reach of global platforms, I can put that music out there, and that maybe only one of you is a fan of my music, that's fine. But across the global world, maybe I have, in aggregate, I have fans. So if I'm testing the waters first, is that opening this up to be like, I'm testing this track, what do you guys think? Oh, you like it that way? Okay, I'm gonna release it this way. But that's that focus group. That doesn't necessarily mean that that was really how I envisioned it. So is it the intent that like you're testing the ideas with focus groups in those platforms, or is it more like I'm staying true to myself as an artist and I'm finding my community?
It's more of the latter, finding your community, because we talk about fans, but fans is step 2. You get listeners first. And listeners don't have to move. A listener can just listen. There's people all in this room right now that are not a part of this conversation, but they're listening, type of thing. So if I was going to take it a step further and say, hey, everybody here, I have a book that's available on Amazon called You Are Your Own Industry. You can log on now and download it. However many sales I garner from that moment, it's an example. It's an example. The book is real. It's real. But it's getting to the point of what matters the most, the bottom line. How much money can I garner from just letting people know what's available, and then how many are going to go there? So you're testing engagement by localizing the location. Like, okay, it's only here. I'm only dropping it here. It's not on a platform that's everywhere. You can't even stream, like subscribe to this streaming service. You have to literally give me money to hear my music. There's an artist that we're vetting now, I won't say their name, but they released their mixtape on their own website, and from that, they toured nationwide. They just came back from a show in the UK, and it's still not on digital streaming platforms, So if we're talking about how do we get the super fan, how do we get more engagement, you gotta test it, because you just can't receive it.
Thank you for the clarification. So, no, seriously, I was curious. So, I guess what you would change, and what I'm hearing, is the access, right? You can't just put it everywhere. That this premium moment is access to me as an artist, or me as my music. You're paying for that as a premium, and that experience of being part of that moment, whether that's a fan club or a channel, or right, just being one of 100 people who now have my mixtape. That is the premium access. It can't be everywhere.
I'll plug his book. He's got a good book.
Yeah.
And that was the smoothest plug I've ever heard. But yeah, I think what I'm hearing, and I want to hear from Mike as well, there's just so much access. Nobody has to invest anything to get to the music anymore, so there's not as much connection. And that's what I'm seeing with my 2 sons as they're stumbling into what they like in music as they're growing up into teenagers. They're missing that connection. So Mike, how would you add to the conversation about creating connection between artists and their fans?
Creating connection, I would say I've seen people give more of themselves through the social platforms, give more of themselves through live shopping, whatnot, TikTok Shop. I do believe that's next. I do know that's next. We've seen it. But I also would just say, since I see we have only a couple of minutes left,
Take it away.
well, real quick, I think more musicians need to treat the business as if they have money in it, which I know everyone does have money in it, but sometimes you put a song out and you're like, wow, I hope it hits. But you need to really, push it. If you're gonna put it out, you have to push it. You have to act like it's life or death. I know some artists pray for a miracle, and who doesn't, but if you're a real business and you're selling coffee, it is life or death. I mean, if you believe in what you're doing, you have to treat it like you really have money on the line for real, and it's not just dropping a track every day. You should do both. I just think some artists need to really feel like they're about to go out of business.
Last words.
Last words. This really relies more on the artist, I feel, more than it is the consumer. The consumers exist, they want to consume, but I don't know if we're putting enough thought and strategy into creating that moment for them to consume.
Keep building platforms, keep dreaming new opportunities to get music out there, keep creating music, keep harnessing that data, keep tapping into your fans. Like everything we are doing, we need to keep doing more of. And the platforms and accessibility to music and fandom is going to continue to evolve as these ecosystems evolve. So I don't know what the mix of this room is right now, but whatever you guys are focused on, like keep dreaming that dream and keep fighting that fight, because you guys are all making it happen for artists to actually be out there with their art.
Awesome. Thank you all. Thank you so much.